Well, it's 4:30, so,
I am going to go live then.
okay,
Button has been pushed and we're live.
excellent. Welcome to the January 27th, 2022 meeting of the Arts and Culture Commission. Due to the surge in local COVID-19 cases, this meeting is being held electronically to ensure the safety of all residents and staff. All members of the commission and staff are participating from homes or offices. For members of the commission, please remember to mute your microphone. When you are not speaking, raise your hand if you'd like to speak so we can call on you. We will also have roll call votes this time for each motion this evening, as well as for adjournment. I will ask our staff member, Laura Fulton, or Supervisor Fulton, to call roll after each motion. We will repeat the motion for the record before we vote, and we'll also repeat who made the motion and who seconded. Before we begin, there are a few things to cover for those listening in or watching online. The public has two ways to view the meeting tonight. They can watch the live stream on the city's YouTube channel or listen via phone using WebEx call-in number. There is no community comment during the meeting tonight. The city is committed to hearing and receiving your input on matters. The public can send in comments to the commission through the commission correspondence web form on our website. The recording of the meeting will also be available to watch on the city's website tomorrow. Go to the Watch a Meeting link under the I Want To tab on the homepage. Thanks in advance for your patience as we work to conduct this meeting online. We hope there will be no issues, but be assured that we will do our best to continue the meeting as best we can if there are any glitches. Thanks to everyone tuning in and for your interest in the Arts and Culture Commission and our work in the city. So I would like to call the January 27th, 2022 meeting of the Arts and Culture Commission to order at 4:32 p.m. And Supervisor Fulton, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Amlaw? Commissioner Johnson?
Present.
Commissioner Westland?
Here.
Commissioner Fram?
Here.
Commissioner Stemler?
Here.
Commissioner Chandler?
Present.
Commissioner Rubin?
Here.
Commissioner Sucko?
Suko here.
Sorry. Student Commissioner Anand?
Here.
Student Commissioner Shen?
Here.
Chair Sorensen?
Present. Terrific. Next, everyone should have received an agenda online. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
So moved, Commissioner Chandler. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, Westland. Supervisor Fulton, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Amlaw? Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah.
Commissioner Westland?
Yes.
Commissioner Fram?
Yes.
Commissioner Stemler?
Yes.
Commissioner Chandler?
Approve.
Commissioner Rubin?
Aye.
Commissioner Sucko? Suko?
Suko, yes.
Suko.
Yes.
Student Commissioner Anand?
Yes.
Student Commissioner Shen?
Aye.
Chair Sorensen?
Yes. Thank you so much. Next, everyone should have received the December 16th minutes. Do we have any changes? Did anyone look through the minutes, see anything that needed to be changed from the minutes? Let's see. Anybody? Oh, sorry. Chandler.
Actually, I'd like to undo my approval of the agenda because I do see a little error there. It was the minutes from the December 16, 2021 meeting is what it should read on the agenda. Who knows? It's all blurry time, right?
Oh, good catch. Good
We
catch.
got it.
Administratively change that. We'll
right.
administratively change that.
Super.
Thank you. Okay, now back to the minutes. Did you see anything in the minutes that we need to change? Anybody? Okay, then can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
Okay, thank you so much, Westland. And a second,
Second, Ruben.
Ruben. Okay, Supervisor Fulton, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Johnson,
Approved.
Commissioner Westland,
Approved.
Commissioner Fram,
Approved.
Commissioner Stemler,
Approved.
Commissioner Chandler,
Aye.
Commissioner Rubin,
Aye.
Commissioner Suko.
Aye.
I've been told I do not do the students.
Okay. So Sorensen says aye too. So,
Oh,
Um,
Chair Sorensen.
yeah, no, we're all in here. That's great. Okay, terrific. Thank you. So next, moving on to item number 5, reports, recommendations. We're going to review 5A, the 2021 work plan review and evaluation of the virtual gallery. I believe Brian and Alyssa will give us an update. Everyone probably saw that thorough, what a fantastic report. Thank you so much for all your hard work. Brian and Alyssa, it was a terrific 40-page document with really great insight into the virtual gallery, the success, the things that we learned from it, how it can inform us moving forward in 2022 with our next effort. But thank you. If you two would, one of you or both of you would share anything that the commission should know at this point from the report.
Sure. And then, is it possible for me to share my screen?
I just passed presenting privileges to you.
Oh, okay.
So Commissioner Stemler, down by your mute and stop video, there should be a share content button.
Right.
That should be able to help you navigate to an open file.
Okay.
So as Brian is getting that together, we thought the two of us would kind of go over briefly the virtual gallery review. It's all included in the packet for the agenda. I think it starts on page 5. But we'll share that with you in a little bit. Wanted to go over just really quick before we get started into the review, the public art plan review. Just looking at starting in 2020. And Brian, I don't know if that's something you can share on your end, but I can just go over that real briefly. And Brian and I use this for the evaluation process.
So it looks like I might have to close down my browser in order for this to start. So maybe I don't. Why don't I just not do that?
I was just gonna say, if maybe staff member Fulton could share the sharing privileges with myself, I could share my screen. Laura, is that possible to make me a presenter quick then? And then maybe you can tell me when to advance.
Sure.
You are now a presenter, Perry. Director Better.
Barry. So, is everyone
think,
seeing the presentation that's in your packet?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I will mute, and then Brian and Alyssa, if you want to just tell me when to advance pages, I can go ahead and do that.
Thank you. So again, the virtual art gallery, before we get into the overview, Brian and I looked at the 2020 goals starting in 2020, the 3-year Edina public art plan, coming back to that for review before we got into the evaluation process, looking at the goals for 2021, 1, co-producing 1 to 3 prototypes, and identifying a main public art concept for 2021. And this being the gallery that was created, and putting together the evaluation process for that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, thank you,
so-
Perry. Yep, the overview.
Okay, go ahead.
Brian, sorry, did you want to get back to the work plan, the 3-year plan?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment that, and I think Alyssa may have said this, that we were trying to kind of review this, the gallery as part of the work plan, as opposed to, maybe, deconstructing the gallery itself. Since it was, the virtual gallery was kind of, came out of some of the current events that happened during the time of implementation. So, I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Brian. So real quick, I'll just go over how the virtual art gallery began. Staying with that theme from struggling to healing with the continuum. We launched it in March of 2021, and it was the first of the 3-year public art plan that was launched for one public art event a year, acting as a framework for planning future projects. Of course, due to the pandemic, things had to change, and this art project in turn became virtual. Here with the report that we're showing you today, it shows what artwork we received with that fitting theme from struggling to healing, a continuum. The specifications of the gallery were that members of the community were invited to submit art based on the criteria of different categories that were assigned for the submissions. These were reviewed using the human rights and relations rubric through the city of Edina, and the artwork rubric for that. And the categories were representation, gender inclusion, race, ethnicity inclusion, accuracy, and feeling. And artwork was created, as all of you saw in our previous meeting, individuals, both adult and students, and artwork that was created by those that were under 18. It was required for an adult parent or legal guardian to submit that on their behalf. It featured a variety of different talents. There were both visual and performance art that were included. We had painting, sculpture, photography, music, spoken word, and dance were accepted forms for the project. And then the submission process ran from March and ended December 31st, 2021. The big 3 goals we were looking to attain for this project were creating a venue for members of the community to share their art and view the art created by others, raising awareness of the Arts and Culture Commission's presence in the community, and build community engagement, working with other organizations and partnering on this public art initiative.
And then the gallery was launched on the platform Better Together Edina, which is the city's platform that they are using as an engagement tool. It's the company that operates it is called Bang the Table Engagement, and they specialize in creating a platform for and catering to what looks like a lot of city governments and other government types use this as an engagement tool. And so the city is promoting or sharing a lot of public projects that happen with the public through the Bang the Table engagement website. The virtual gallery was presented as a project on that platform, and then the artwork was shown displayed as posts, which is basically the framework that platform uses to create and share content. Partnerships were with the student group Mosaic and the owners of the Nolan Main's apartment complex held a summer concert series, and the ACC partnered with the concert series, and it was a weekly event, and the Master of Ceremonies during the intermission would promote the virtual gallery, and as well, the Master of Ceremonies also recruited student performers to perform at the event. And then we also volunteered to film a lot of these performances, the student performances, and share the video with the students to and encourage them to present or to post into the virtual gallery if they so choose. And then with paid advertising, the city staff handled this, and we created a budget and posted marketing materials with the Star Tribune and on Facebook primarily. I think there was a plan to post with NPR, but the program that we were looking at, Art Hounds, eventually I think ended. And organic marketing, there was a wonderful piece in Edina magazine that highlighted Shreya and Lindsay and the ACC and the student outreach initiatives. And then we also had members of the commission participate in the 4th of July parade, and as well as doing the Fall into Arts booth.
Achievements we learned, of course, having to reinvent what we had done with physical galleries in the past with the pandemic, making it a virtual gallery. It became and still could be something we can utilize in the future as a viable platform for members of the community to see the art and share it with others. And then the end of the submission, by the time we wrapped up the end of December, we had 60 pieces that were submitted through the Bing the Table platform on Better Together. And it provided a great resource for locally created artwork to be displayed. And that is where we're trying to move on and at this point, look to the future and do a physical exhibit. All of you helped to vote on 10 final submissions. Thank you for that. So we're hoping in the future, those pieces, we would be able to display them in a city facility. So we've been working with Laura and Perry to look at sites once it is safe to do so, and have a gallery set up at whether it be the senior center or one of the park facilities. And then the goal of this too was looking at these final selections, and they might be chosen for a permanent display. Our final results, looking at numbers, we had 28 exhibitors, actually artists. So there were quite a few that submitted multiple pieces with 60 total pieces of artwork. And there were 2,600 total visits with a max of 83 per day. And the biggest time we saw the most traffic was May through July. And I believe, Brian, maybe I'm wrong, but that's also, I think, when the Edina magazine article came out as well. I think that definitely helped with promotion. But that was the biggest point of traffic, with just a few for community comments and responses.
And I had one comment. The Edina magazine story was actually in the August issue.
Oh,
But
okay.
there was a lot of publicity around the concert series, which did kick up in May. So I think Sun Current, there were, city press releases, and Nolan Maines did a whole press release, and Star Tribune did a story. So I think there was a lot of press activity between those months.
And social media.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Don't forget Bob Ross and the Tootsie Rolls.
Yes. Can't forget that.
Okay, so then Finally, the key takeaways. And that's the next page, please. So this was, somewhat, how would I say it, subjective, since, we are two people making this report. And so, and also because we came into this initiative late, we don't necessarily have the context of how this plan was initially developed and how it evolved to before we arrived. But I think one of the key takeaways was that just with everything, so much of our lives during the pandemic, trying to shift to a virtual world with our daily activities was something that we were able to, many of us were able to pivot to, and that in some ways it created new opportunities, but also it created new challenges. And I think that probably the biggest thing we all came to realize was that there's no substitute for human connection and having physical world experiences. So as much as we love the virtual world, it's still it still is not an equal experience platform. And so that I think once the virtual gallery was implemented and started kind of growing and building, showing some of the limitations that the platform itself had in terms of creating engagement, creating a user experience that could maybe um, um, bring people in and help them, um, I guess, experience the gallery and basically walk away with feeling like they had had an experience that we curated for them. That and I kind of equate it to if we were to put the next public event that we hold, if we do that in the physical world, probably one of the activities we would do would be to go on a scout and to go and experience the locations that we're considering holding an event, and kind of trying to experience it as the audience would experience it, and making sure that it has all the necessary features that we need. If we were to do a virtual experience in the future, kind of doing the same type of prep work would, I think, be very effective in terms of thinking ahead as to finding the right virtual platform to give the public the experience that we want them to have. And because this was the pilot initiative of the public art plan, it was it it was, I think it was fairly difficult because of all the things that were happening in the world, made it difficult to have this be a true pilot study. So for that reason, we're making the recommendation, if agreed, to extend the pilot program to also include the 2022 public art initiative. And it's possible that using both together could be a much stronger platform for creating a framework for future work and future initiatives. And our other recommendation is that, while I think the virtual, and I think doing, having a digital element to initiatives in the future is a great idea. And I think that it's, the digital and the virtual world is with us for ongoing, that having that be the primary platform for future initiatives might is not recommended, and at least until we're able to really perfect our the display and the presentation of it. Another recommendation is that once an initiative is approved, that the working group comes up with either what you call an action plan, or maybe it could be considered more like a business plan that would help create a roadmap for the working group to implement the project. This could be good in terms of, especially one with a very long, a project such as this that was basically active for a very long period. It would be really helpful to have a plan in place that would have like milestones, have ways for the participating groups to check in and be on the same page. That and I think that that was one thing that was, especially because of the turnover that we had with this project, not having any kind of action plan to be able to pass on to the new leadership was challenging. And then finally, I think that it would be good to, if we do for the next public art initiative, if we do have a virtual element to it, that we try to consult with either some vendors or a consultant who has some experience with this type of thing. So we basically would do figure out what our needs would be in the digital world, and then try to find some resources to find the best venue for that. The Bang the Table platform is really good. I'm really impressed with it, but it might not be the right venue for a future project. One of the things that Alyssa and I saw was that the city website has been redesigned, and so the city website might also have some new features now, which could be a better platform for this sort of thing. There's also could be other platforms that we haven't discovered yet, which might end up creating a greater user experience to meet our needs. And then the appendixes are what the city provided us in terms of the report for the paid advertising. You all can look through that. And then the Appendix B has the analytics for the virtual art gallery.
Just one question. Did you say the Art Hounds did not run? Because that was listed just as we cruised through it.
So yeah, if you look on the report,
So there was paid advertising
here.
around the show.
Right.
But
So it said,
okay.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the,
Oh, yeah. Okay, it's all
yeah, there
here.
we go.
Thank you.
Right. So I think we have, so Perry, how much more time do we have for Q&A?
Oh, I apologize, commissioners. I was not keeping track. I think I defer to Chair Sorensen. I'd want to have a good discussion on this. So I think if there's nothing else on the report, I think moving into a Q&A, and I can kind of moderate time here as we go forward. But I think to be able to have a discussion around that, you should move forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we've got a lot left to cover with the new 2022 work plan, but if people have questions or comments, obviously this was really well done, very thorough. I like your conclusions. It is interesting because we do have in some of our new initiatives, places where we may need an online submission process. And it's interesting to get the feedback on better together and maybe exploring what might be just looking at a couple of options before committing to that. Because I think I heard you say that it was a little cumbersome, the process of uploading an image online, or that perhaps that could have been smoother or maybe helped. And it was also, I think now, I would also just be curious to know Better Together. I know that the Edina website was revamped, and is Better Together still being used? It looks like it's still being used for arts and culture, for example, initiatives or other community projects. Is that correct? Or is everything being now housed on the City of Edina website? Because I think going between those two sites can sometimes be, it just can take a little bit more time, and we may lose people in the process of trying to hunt down where am I supposed to go and submit the information. So,
Yeah, just quickly, Chair Sorensen and the commission, that the city's website was, I don't know the technical term, but I believe it was like a new skin. So the provider and platform provider has stayed the same. So it's basically new layout, new graphics, but still the same majority of the technology in the back. And I think there were some refreshes and things. But Better Together is the module, I guess you could say, where you do pseudo leave the City of Edina's website to do that engagement with on it. So it's kind of that then maybe the website's more informational, and then Better Together is kind of that then engagement feedback loop for that.
Yeah.
But it's been the same provider. It's just a new skin layout, I think, and some other advancements, I'm sure.
And just to give an example of what we experienced was that Bang the Table, the engagement platform is set up where there's an ability for people to log in, so they would create a login, but then they could comment on the posts. And so if the city was proposing like a bridge or something, that the public would have an opportunity to post comments. We decided that was not appropriate for people to be commenting publicly on the artwork. And so we turned off that feature. And the only problem was that that was really the only feature that the public had to interact with the artwork. So one of the things we were looking at was like, is there any way to like add a heart, like, or people to just heart something or like something? And that was not a feature. So, one of the things that is possible is creating a gallery that could then be embedded on a website that the city controls, that would have those features for people to kind of interact with the artwork, but not open it up to comments that we couldn't control, or that might not be helpful to the project. So that's just an example of what we kind of experienced late into the project with the platform.
Kathy Amlaw is on as an attendee. I haven't been able to figure out how to get her in as a panelist, but she says, great report. How many hours did the two of you spend on this project?
So, well, we were involved, or we were responsible for managing and curating. So if somebody submitted the artwork, we were the ones who were reviewing the artwork and then posting it and handling that. The time spent on that was very minimal, so we didn't have to allocate much time. This report, coming up with the report, I would say took about 5 hours.
Steve, you had a question.
I was wondering, thank you very much. It's fantastic. You guys have been amazing. But as part of the 3-year public art plan, you know, I at a really high level, I think the idea was the idea was I think I could write a community generated art show, right? It's just that we happen to use this platform because of the pandemic would be one way to think about it. And I believe that the 3-year plan was then to iterate, like to assess and iterate for year 2. And so I would love your thoughts and comments on, you know, just the community sourcing of it, kind of like your perspective on, you know, just an open platform where people can share their work in the city of Edina, regardless of the theme or whatever. I mean, just kind of like a more programmatic perspective.
And I think a lot of that, Steve, would probably be looking at, again, kind of what Brian's coming back to saying, being the table didn't allow a lot of that engagement. So if we did make it, you know, an ongoing in the future, almost conversation with art, we'd recommend looking at another platform to use.
But
This-
also the idea of an open call kind of program too, right? Like I mean,
Yeah.
that's the one way is to engage from the viewer perspective. The other is to share from the creator perspective, right? So
Mhm.
we've always had juried art shows. We've never had kind of open call art shows, right?
And our thought too was just thinking about it going forward, that it's wonderful that we were able to have submissions from all different community members. But in the same sense, it was so broad that I think if we would have in the future looking at something in a project where we're submitting, it's not such a broad theme. I think there was a little bit of confusion in that and submitting, and receiving a very minimal, you know, amount of submissions. So, and Brian, we kind of talked about this too, just thinking about that in the submission process. It was a great way to engage, but I think with the amount of different categories that were represented too, it that's where a
Yeah.
lot of the questions I think came when people were submitting to which category they should submit their work in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, and I think you're right. It's like, together there are a lot of great ideas, but I think bringing them all together into a user experience where they all supported each other was challenging. Because I think, you know, because of the way that the Bang the Table interface works, you were basically only able to see one art piece at a time, and you had to then click on to the next one and click on to the next one. So it it didn't create a kind of a user experience where the artwork washes over you, or where you can kind of just glide through the artwork. Or like to your point, like, you know, creating kind of like um, what do you call it? Like um, a mass collaboration art project where you could maybe just see like hundreds of art pieces at the same time, and you click on it and then it would zoom in. Like that might be neat, you know, if you're trying to do something to scale. So I just think that, you know, coming from like a background of theater and television, it's like, you know, understanding the platform and how it can help you augment what you're trying to do, as opposed to having it be kind of an afterthought after everything else. I think that that's something that I think a lot of people are going to become more experienced with, now that we're all becoming more savvy with uh, being publishers ourselves. And but I think that, you know, what I always recommend to people is, um, think about what you want to achieve and then find the platform that fits that goal. Um, so
This is Russ. I mean, first of all, hats off to you guys, and really hats off to Lindsay and Hannah and Shreya for kicking it off. This was intended to be a pilot test, and just to kind of prove a concept. And I think we've been able to do that. And what we're learning now is, we need better definitions. We need to make sure the tools are in place. It got slowed down because the Mosaic kids were really struggling themselves to figure out how they fit into school, and then that slowed things down a little bit. So this was a great experiment, and we learned a lot. And the question becomes now is, what will year 2 look like? Big picture, what would we want to do in year 2? We want to do a like-minded approach, or do we want to try something somewhat different or something entirely different? I think that's where our energies should be going now. I think it worked. And let's learn from that and put it to phase 2.
One of the
Sarah,
things
Brian?
though, yeah, I agree. I think though, one of the points Brian made that I think all of us who were on the commission before all of you fabulous new commissioners joined was not necessarily understanding that there wasn't a clear plan in place so that if folks were to leave, that they could hand over. And I think a lot of us, I'm a little baffled and I'm surprised that there wasn't an outline of here, follow these next steps to see this effort through, because there was an incredible proposal that was put together at the very beginning that we all approved and signed off on. And so then concrete next steps, again, I think, it was a challenge and for all the reasons that have been talked about. But I think going forward for all of us on our different initiatives, it's really important that we keep a very detailed account of what we're doing and outline sort of next steps so that things happen, life happens, so that when we hand over to someone else, they're not left having to reinvent the wheel. And I really am so impressed with, so many of us were not totally in the loop about what was happening with that initiative. And I think that's something as the new chair too, Russ, I just know that, we talked about this. It's so important that we have these discussions, that we stay transparent about what we're doing, and that people are armed with the tools they need to jump in and take over and see an effort through. Because it was, you two did an incredible job filling in the blanks and having to steer the ship when everything was kind of abandoned. So again, thank you so much. I agree. I think we've learned a ton. We have some terrific 2022 sort of next plans that if anyone, does anyone else have questions? And then we can kind of, I just see it's around 5:15. We can kind of start going through some of those things now, but any other conclusions or things anyone wants to talk about?
No, just thanks again to Brian and Alyssa. I mean, your report is excellent, and also your leadership of this project, just stepping in, was really fantastic. So thank you so much.
Yeah, at the risk of sounding extremely redundant, I have to say thank you, and such a great report, such a great job. You outlined the challenges that we've just been talking about here, but when you outlined them, and I was reading the report, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. And yet you put together a report that, quite honestly, is something that I think we should, maintain as a commission and reference for future projects. Here's how to put together a great report on what happened with the project. So thank you for not only seeing the project through when it was needing a lot of tending to without any plans forward, but also you've created a great template for a report for future projects and for plans for how this should continue with public arts. So I mean, I'm so impressed and so grateful for the work that you put in, and I think it makes the whole Arts and Culture Commission look really good. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Couldn't have said it better. That's a great way to wrap it. So terrific. Let's now take a look at our 2022 annual work plan that all of you should have received a copy of in your packet. You can also just look through it and make sure that you see your name down for an initiative or two. Or if you want to be a helper on anything, again, the reminder is 4 leads, and students can assign themselves to as many initiatives as they want. And then anyone can be sort of a helper, not a lead, but a helper. In addition, if there's an effort here that you see that's of interest. So I think we'll just kind of tackle some of these now. I know it's very early on, and a lot of us are still transitioning now back to virtual. I know, let's start with initiative 1. Alyssa and I and Rihanna have been just kind of, Rena, I'm sorry, have been sort of working through putting a team together of community partners, as well as sort of our timeline and next steps for the Mandala project. This has been one of the key meetings that we had this week, had to be turned into a phone call versus an in-person meeting with the Mandala expert in our school district in the art department at Normandale Elementary, Leanne French-Amara. She's her husband is Indian. She has been doing Mandala projects with students for about a decade. She has a terrific template already in place for how a community art project like the one we're proposing can be put in place and then digitally mapped in Centennial Lakes parks or onto school buildings. But again, we were going to have a sort of group meeting, and she canceled on the day of the meeting, concerned about COVID. And actually, she, in the end, thought she might have had it and could have exposed anyone at the meeting. So one of the things that came out of that, though, that's important, and again, just to be sensitive, here we are all virtual again, is that many of these teachers are, again, experiencing high levels of burnout. And she had suggested, again, using our technology tools, like creating a video, where she's done plenty of video demonstrations on how to create mandalas and her other art projects, creating a template of video that could be shared across the district from K through 12, simply explaining what this project is, showing how to create a mandala, and then tag teaming with our digital artists that we are looking to partner with, and showing the end result of what this would look like if it was digitally mapped. I'm wondering, with staff on the call, she's happy to do a video of that kind herself that we would then share, across the board. Or is this an opportunity for Edina TV to help put together something a little bit with more context? For example, building in, Alyssa has a mandala expert from the University of Minnesota that could add context. There could be a welcome from the mayor. There could be a message from Superintendent Stanley, Dr. Stanley, from the Edina Public Schools, as well as the art teacher. And then again, Boo McHale for the digital mapping component. So just, we have an opportunity to, again, sort of communicate about what this project is and looking at, again, the best possible tools to do that. But in general, we're looking at, an event, partners that are coming out of the woodwork. The Edina Ed Fund would take care of the communication across the district. They also have that relationship with Dr. Stanley, who has gotten wind of the idea of this concept and is very, very excited about it. The mental health workers in each school see this as something they'd like to push to the countless students that they're working with right now. And the idea of this, not necessarily, unlike with the first initiative from 2021, this is sort of a community, it's almost like community art therapy. Like, we're not looking to pick winners. We want people to just go through this experience. We want to give them the tools, how to do it, have them go through the experience. And then we're looking at an event, and Alyssa can talk about this, but in May, Time to Mental Health Awareness Week, Laura Fulton's been helping us with Centennial Lakes Park, thinking about a day when we can unveil the mandalas created by the students and then digitally project some into the park. So again, it's been a process of getting the team together while we're virtual, sharing the concept. We've had media interest already. Edina Magazine wants to put this in their May issue. Obviously, there's a lot of interest and mental health work in our schools. We hear this, from the top down with our governor and the state also making this a huge priority. And then our own city partnering with the Edina Ed Fund on the mental health initiatives that they're running as well. Alyssa also heard from NAMI, which is the national, what does it stand for, Alyssa? But that they
National Alliance of Mental Illness.
Yeah. So this organization, really well respected, kind of everyone from, the mental health workers within our district, everyone looks to NAMI for guidance and leadership, and that they're also looking at that entire week that we're looking at doing an event. They're also unveiling a bunch of events, and they'd like to hitch maybe some of what they're doing to what we're doing. So as you can see, community partnerships are endless here. We're so excited to really start to push this into the community with a timeline of creating, figuring out how we're communicating this project to the district. And we think this video concept versus in-person meetings of any kind are kind of off the table. Keeping this as turnkey as possible for our teachers. Having, again, a really great, easy video that can be shared by the Ed Fund in all the schools. And then starting to see these submissions in March, combing through them in April, and then working with the digital artists to have a ceremony to unveil them in May. And again, it goes back to one of the other concepts or things that we're going to see throughout our work plan that is also kind of, as we talk about the Art Center and the future home of the Art Center, we're all looking at where are we going with art? Like, where are we taking these student mandalas? Where are we going to display them? We're going to put some of them in the park as a digital mapping exercise. That'll be really amazing. But then if we were to have an exhibition of, like, say we get 100 student mandalas, where are we going to display them? And where is that place in our community that is a safe gathering place that can work like a gallery? And so we've got some things like that, right, Alyssa, that we have to pin down. But I don't know, is there anything else, Alyssa, you want to add to that? Just kind of trying to give an overview.
No, that was great, Rebecca. Thank you. I think, and there are a lot of partners in this, but the education piece, you touched base on that. University of Minnesota, I connected with the Beckon Center, and they have a teacher there that has been teaching Tibetan medicine. And she has worked with mandala education as well. So excited to, look at the different cultures that I've worked with mandalas and educate the students on that, as well as engage them in the project.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Terrific. Does anyone have any questions at this point about this initiative?
Mr. Sorensen, just as a matter, I just wanted to draw your attention. Commissioner Amlaw has overcome all the city technology hurdles we have thrown in front of her and has joined the meeting. So just want to draw your attention that she has appeared.
Fantastic. Well done. Oh, I think you're on mute. Okay. Well, terrific. She's here. Excellent. Okay, terrific. So I know we've got some things to cover. So why don't we go on to Initiative 2? But just know Initiative 1 is off to a great start, even with the challenges that we all face. And we're, again, trying to be sensitive to the needs of the teachers right now, but they're also looking for great content, and they're excited to implement this into the classroom. Ooh, I hear a little echo. Okay. All right. So now, if there are no other questions, I don't see any hands up. We'll go on to Initiative 2, which is research and make a recommendation for a micro grant process for community-driven arts and culture. So this is, and we know we have our limited time with Steve, but we are so grateful to him for mapping this initiative out. And we've shared this with Dick Crockett at the Edina Community Foundation. And we have a meeting now planned for February 8th at 5 p.m., which will happen as a hybrid. I think anyone who wants to be in person with Dick Crockett, but also we will have a Zoom component for folks that, if that works better. And this will be an opportunity to share ideas and And Dick Crockett said there's actually, it was interesting. I'll just read this because I know, I mean, my other commissioners, I don't think saw this email yet. Or maybe actually I did forward this on, but that there's an unfunded agreement for a community impact fund to support the Arts and Culture Commission that has the potential to be used for this very purpose. So, so Dick Crockett is so excited that this is on our work plan and has ideas about how we can get this off the ground. So we're excited for that meeting in February. I don't know, do any of the other commissioners have anything they want to share at this point, very early on, just putting the team together, but on initiative 2? Yeah, I think, yep, that's kind of where we're at right now. We've got a great meeting on the books and we're excited for to learn and listen and start collaborating to see where we can go.
I just wanted to mention that I did have a conversation with Dick Crockett that that this was on your work plan. You probably would be contacting him, so I'm glad to hear that that's come to fruition. He also indicated to me that there is an Arts and Culture Impact Fund already established with the Community Foundation. It doesn't have any money in it, but the ability to collect or to promote in the future, it's already been established. So just as your subgroup meets with Mr. Crockett, I'm sure that might be something you want to explore and report back on as part of that. So I just want to make sure you do that.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, I'm glad we all heard that, and we will definitely, we'll be looking forward to that meeting and reporting back in February on what we find. Okay, on initiative 3, as a new art space is pursued, the commission will provide the community perspective to the planning process. So why don't we get an update? I know there was another meeting in January about the Art Center with Sarah Peterson, the consultant. Would anyone here from initiative 3 like to just give some thoughts about where we are right now with the Art Center, new art space? Maybe Commissioner Chandler, you want to start?
Sure, I'll start, and I certainly welcome others, and will also be interested to hear what kind of update Perry has as far as where this has gone. We did have a really good and thorough second meeting with Sarah Peterson. She brought the draft report back to us with some good changes at our request, just really clarifying some of the information that she presented to us. Just as a reminder, this is still a pottery focused project built, center really. And so her research has to do with what the environment for pottery looks like around the Twin Cities, what the demand is, what the history with pottery classes and pottery involvement has been at the Edina Arts Center over the course of the past 10 or so years, both in terms of number of classes, amount of revenue, various participation. And so we really are looking at the sort of a 360 of what do Edinans and people who have participated in the past value, what does the landscape look like for the future for pottery focused facility in Edina. Sorry. What might some of the recommendations be? In her work, again, she looked to other pottery focused facilities around the Twin Cities to say, how could we not go wrong? And so recommendations around things like, don't worry about how beautiful the building is, think about how functional it is in terms of having enough space for kilns, in terms of recognizing that pottery is messy and can be dirty, and you need to be dealing with dust and wet clay and all of these kinds of things. And so have a facility with good floor drains, with good ventilation, the kinds of things that will actually make it a really useful facility. And so those kinds of recommendations were helpful. There were no recommendations about specific locations or specific building size or shape or anything like that. We're leaving that for farther down the line. We did discuss things like, membership. We discussed things like, should there be gallery or gift shop space? Without making hard and fast recommendations, we did include those, as well as our favoring pottery center that would be serving everybody from families and beginning students to really advanced pottery students who might want to simply have time in the space to do their own work, not necessarily taking a class, open studio space. So we had the opportunity to talk through the report, to make any final recommendations for changes or adjustments to the report. And then from there, Perry, I believe that the report was being forwarded on to the city council to maybe you can take it from here, but I certainly welcome others in the group to add to what I've just reported.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Chandler. We could regroup on others' perspective as well, but if you'll notice in the progress line of your work plan, Sarah has gone ahead and made those corrections, inputs that we discussed in January. We've met with the city manager. He is, again, continually supportive of moving forward. So the next stop is a city council work session. Based on their calendar, the next available time we were able to get in front of the council is March 22nd. So our thought is we're going to bring you that report in February as a full commission. Now I know, the four of you are leads. You've been very valuable so far. You've been very beneficial to this. It's gotten a lot better with your input, but to be able to bring it to you as a full commission, what I don't know yet is what will the meeting format look in March. Like, I don't know if we'll still be virtual. I don't know if we'll be in person. I don't know if we'll be in hybrid. But I think at a minimum, it would be nice if the four of you that are leads would possibly be available that evening, let alone maybe other members of the commission. We'll have to talk through that as we get closer with where are we the COVID cases, where are we with the pandemic in general and things like that. But so our earliest we can get to them is the 22nd. So we thought, let's bring it to all of you on the 24th. And I'd like to add one thing too, is we had and maybe, you know what, I'll save mine in case you don't cover it, because you had a lot of the conversation at that. So I'll wait till the end if there's something that you didn't want to mention at this point on the report itself.
I just wanted to mention one other thing that I should have started out with, which is that we were focusing on a pottery center because that's what the city council requested of us. So it wasn't that we as an initiative, group of commissioners on an initiative got a crazy idea and said, let's go pottery. We were responding to what the city council members had requested. Yeah, Russ, I see you shaking your head.
Yeah.
And I personally think it is a beneficial and favorable idea, but I also just want to be really clear that part of why I think it's beneficial and favorable is because it's potentially got some support. I also think that it makes a lot of sense for Edina. I think we can do other things with other art forms, but I recognize that there could be questions asked about, well, why pottery? And at this point, from a truly practical perspective, it is because that's what we were asked to do. So I'll stop now.
And I would have to say, I would rather see it be much broader than just pottery, because I think we need all kinds of art. And pottery is certainly one of the wonderful things that we can do, but I still think it's very limited. And I would like to see our recommendations be much broader than just pottery. So that's my feeling on the report.
Laura Westland, how about you? Do you want to add anything else to the feedback?
Yeah, I mean, Susan, you did a great job summarizing our meeting on January 6th. Again, Sarah's plan was to comment on this very Pottery forward facility, which I think she's done an excellent job in working through that. It hasn't been clear to me if we are thinking of the current Edina Art Center for other kinds of art activities. We know that needs a lot of maintenance and renovation and update issues, but I don't know if that is being considered for other kinds of art, with the new Pottery Center being devoted to the pottery. So I think that is something that is still being worked on among, trying to figure out how the current Edina Art Center might be used in the future as well.
Okay. And was there any discussion too of a like a gallery, or a people have been asking about, like, they loved the gift store of the art center. Like if there is a pottery center, like, would that also include a gift shop, or, is that also sort of being tossed around, like different? I know that at one point there was an idea of, like, maybe there's a gallery in downtown Edina that has, items for sale by different artists from some of these different from pottery and other art classes, or, again, just, is that sort of something that was mentioned to me, sort of people missing the shopping of the a way to support the arts in Edina. That was a great component of the art center.
Yeah, we did discuss that, and we would favor having a gallery and a gift shop, but partly it was dependent on available square footage, and so there's nothing hard and fast in terms of plans. And Steve, I see you were waving your hand.
I did feel that we should comment on the public correspondence we received this week from an irate Edina resident who's wondering why it's taken the commission 3 years to deal with this, and what, if any, response we owe that citizen. Obviously, we have a very reasoned situation as to why we are where we are, but I didn't know if we needed to discuss that as a commission.
Yes, so the commission correspondence came in. Staff member Fulton sent that out. And just, that correspondence went to the commission. It also went separately to the city council. It also went to staff. So just want to let you know that I know at least one city council member has responded. Staff has also responded. And basically, a general update on where this process has been, where we are at looking at that, hopefully delivering a recommendation here yet this winter, late spring, however do you define March. I think if you're a winter person, it's winter. If you want spring to be here, it's spring recommendation. So wherever March falls on your bingo card. So that has occurred. If you desire more contact with that, obviously you can reach out to the resident. It's not required. When a submission is submitted, or a comment is submitted by a resident through that portal, it's traditionally looked at as a one-way. They are telling you something. You have the option to respond back if you feel it's appropriate. However, I do know at least Councilmember Anderson has replied, and I also did provide a response to the resident as well. And then I can just
Did that response include, Perry, that the center is the physical state of the center and the reason why, in addition to the pandemic, it's been closed?
Correct. That is a big thing about it's yes, other pottery areas have figured out how to do social distancing, max capacities. Other centers aren't dealing with volunteers that have gotten shocked, or when capacitors kick out a kiln, that you just open a window and a door. So those are the real issues that we are facing in that center about its, not just the building envelope, the roof, the windows, the doors, the ADA accessibility, but it's about incorrect natural gas supply, electrical distribution system that doesn't function correctly, ventilation not just from an air exchange, but from a particulate matter of mixing glazes, venting off of a kiln. So it isn't just is the carbon monoxide sensor okay? It's there's a lot more in this, and I think the recommendations in the report, when you see it about what to look for in a center, we kind of say, yeah, it's pretty clear. Our next center or next location probably should not be a renovated 1949 single family home, right? But I think it's on us as staff too, to, as we progress along this continuum, is how do we communicate better? How do we engage better, right? According to your work plan, you're bringing that community's perspective, and I thank you for that. But there are going to be additional steps along this way. I did want to mention just a couple other things. Is we did have a very robust discussion about the center's budget, and the center currently right now operating as an enterprise fund, meaning trying to cover a certain amount of costs. And we did talk about, does that philosophy preclude entry level, beginner, people that want to try to get involved? Because I think as looking at the bigger picture, when you are trying to cover your costs, you may not want to take as much risk on entry level beginner classes that may or may not fill up right away. So really, as we head into a discussion with the council, is around is there some sort of a shift from what is general benefited programmatic pottery versus then what where does the shift start taking place for more advanced studio time that does maybe lend itself to more of a cost recovery metric? Because I think as we've discussed, we have other areas, and Commissioner Chandler was excellent in pointing this out, that you may start with park and recreation offerings, but there's an avenue for you to grow your skills. I threw it out there because I wanted to have that discussion around, you take skating. You can start in our Learn to Skate program. You can learn how to play hockey, and then eventually you go to the figure skating club or the hockey association, then the school, then maybe Velocity. We don't have that mechanism for art and pottery here. So we kind of are a provide opportunity for all along that continuum that you had mentioned is important. The other piece that we haven't necessarily got into is we use the word pottery, but this hopefully area could also function as three-dimensional art. We haven't necessarily looked at what the space and requirements are, could be for other ceramics, glass, jewelry, which also require grinding and mixing and ventilation and soldering, which also lend itself to ventilation and fire codes, fire suppression that we don't necessarily have now. And then the last thing I'll mention is we are currently using the Art Center. Laura's programming that for drawing classes, other types of art, she could expand on, but we're using the main floor because the main floor is ADA accessible. So we have one accessible floor. We're not using the basement. We're not using the loft. And it's for items that don't require things like, mixing kilns, where we put a load on the electrical system or we worry about the ventilation. So we have been using that. It's not open to the public. It's open to pre-registered programs. So if you're registering for an art program and Laura's offering them now and expanding those offerings, it could be at the Art Center. It's just going to be limited to that floor. So so I know she's still taking advantage of the galleries and the open light and things like that as best we can, as long as also looking at our other recreational facilities for offerings. So long answer. I know we're getting short on time, but I'll stop now.
And that won't necessarily stop anytime soon, right? The offerings in the Art Center. the classes. Okay. And the other question I wanted to ask is, is it possible for our commission to see the correspondence that was sent by City Council member Anderson and yourself to this community member, just so we know what was already communicated, since that letter was addressed to us? Is it possible, were we CC'd on the correspondence, or is there any way? I think it might be nice to just
I
have
can
that.
send you mine.
Okay.
Commissioner Anderson, or Councilmember Anderson's was from himself to the resident. So I'll send you mine and at least. So
Thank
Yeah,
you.
okay. Yeah, because I think it would be good to know what Councilmember Anderson also is communicating, since it's sort of on our behalf too.
and I just so you know, there was the commission went, because it was through your portal, went to you. It was submitted again to the council. It was submitted again to staff. So it was, all the avenues were taken.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. That's great. Anyone else?
Don't feel like it was directed just at you. I just want to make that clear.
That's good. We like community engagement. So anyone else want to? Yes. Am I missing a hand?
Commissioner Suko had his hand
Rebecca,
up.
after you see that response, I was wondering, you may, I still believe the commission, I appreciate the fact that staff and council has responded to it, but I still think, we do have a role here. I think we should at least respond in some manner.
I agree.
I think a community member taking the time to tell us something is owed the respect of a response.
Well, and I guess that's where I was kind of going, is I sort of want to see what was already, what the correspondence was between, the Perry and Councilmember Anderson. But I agree. I think, a phone call, or it is so tricky to communicate now. Unfortunately, we have to go find our way into the website and make a comment. So I agree. The fact that someone took the time to do this, and it really took some doing. I agree. Picking up the phone, I would be happy to pick up the phone and talk to this person, but better would be one of you from this initiative, who can give a really thorough explanation of where we're at. So if any of you want to volunteer to write a letter or call this community member, please, you don't have to do it right now, but just let us know and let me know. I agree. I think it would be great this person definitely deserves some correspondence from us too. So thank you for mentioning that.
I can do that if you'd like. I'm happy to do that.
Okay, terrific. Thank you very much. Yes. Excellent. So now I think we better move on, because we're getting close here with the time, but thank you. That was so thorough, so much information, such a great update, and exciting for what's to come. Initiative 4, I know we have Susan Johnson, and we have our student commissioner, Anand here. The three of us were up very early this morning meeting with Project Earth, and this is a climate change group at Edina High School. We brought them vegan donuts to butter them up, and they were very, I think, receptive to this concept of the climate change public art in the parks Time to Earth Day. We talked about the parks that were meaningful to them as kids, and now actually Centennial Lakes Park was like right up at the top. Then I forget now, Susie, which other ones they definitely had parks that really were important to them as kids and even now. And we talked about a subgroup to help with some of the climate change messaging and how this will all work. So I think, one of the things I know we all want to maybe say a few more things, but one of the things that I think we need to start understanding more about is how the city, who we would talk to at the city about the actual sandblasting, and sort of deciding on the parks that we're going to use. And Susan Johnson's is going to be on a phone call with the St. Louis Park Arts Council, or Friends of the Arts, about their experience with the sandblasting, since they're now doing it for a second year and have had a ton of, it's just been a big success over there. So Susie's going to be on the phone with them. I don't know, Susan, do you want to share anything else? at this stage, early stage?
Yeah, it
Rena.
was a really fun meeting this morning, and the excitement with the students. And when it was mentioned before I left, several of the students were coming up to me and saying they were excited about it, had some suggestions, ideas. And also for parks, when they mentioned the footbridge by the Minnehaha Creek?
Yeah.
I thought that was great because a lot of people do stroll that.
Mhm.
And yeah, really
Mhm.
invested. I was really encouraged by that. Yes, I did put a call out to the St. Louis Park, Friends of the Arts. So I'm waiting for a call back, and we're going to have a conversation about steps and what they did that was so successful that they're doing another time. So I'll
Okay. Okay. And then, hey, Rena, did you have any thoughts or anything after that meeting today, or?
It's Rhea, but I
Oh,
had
I'm sorry, I wrote
I
your
just
name. I'm sorry.
I came for the donuts that you brought. That's why I was there. No, I
Well
think it was
done.
really productive, and I think a lot of students really enjoyed the idea, and it seemed like everyone was very into it. So, yeah.
Okay, good. Well, thank you for being there, and I'm glad you like the donuts. And like I said, I think it's exciting. There's a lot happening. I think should we also, Perry, maybe be in touch with Grace Hancock? I was just reading this great article about her in About Town. And she's just doing so much with sustainability and climate change for the city. She wasn't necessarily someone we put down as a community partner, but maybe a good person to touch base with as we kind of take next steps. And certainly we'll be working closely with Project Earth, and they're really excited to see us each month at their meeting and kind of work through the process. But so there's that. And one other thing is sort of deciding whether this climate change activism in the park messaging is driven by the student group and just for the student group, or if we want to open this up to the Edina community and have some kind of a public online submission process so that we can take in other that's sort of, I guess, one of the things Susan Johnson's going to look into is sort of how St. Louis Park did that, but it was definitely more community oriented, not just the students, or if we want to just keep it simple and not have a big public process and just work within with Project Earth. So I guess it's something that we can discuss, but okay. All right, we'll move on.
Rebecca, can you share it, or Rhea, can you share any of the parks that are being considered?
Yeah. I'll quickly go. Besides the Minnehaha Creek footbridge path, we have Bredesen that was proposed. I think Artisan Acres was proposed as well. Centennial was a big one that we liked that was proposed because we thought that would get a lot of foot traffic as well. And I'm sure there were other ones, but I could be missing some.
What's the one that Pamela Park? That one was brought up too.
And then I think Roslyn was also proposed too.
And Roslyn, exactly. So anyway, any other favorite parks that any of you have where you'd like to see this happen? We also talked a little bit about a program for Earth Day and maybe some speakers, maybe live music, but adding some celebration to the event and the unveiling of this public art project. So, but yeah, feel free to chime in. We're excited. I think it's going to be a great project. And really like I too felt like the enthusiasm in the room. People were super excited. They're working hard on a bunch of other things, and this kind of fits right in with what they're doing. So it's definitely youth led and city supported. And so yeah, I think it's going to be a fun initiative. We just hope it won't snow when this happens on Earth Day. There's always that risk in April. You talk about March, it's even more depressing when we have snow in April, and that could very well happen. So we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But
Excuse me, I have one more recommendation, and that is that I
Yeah.
think you are going to need to bring the donuts to every subsequent meeting to keep that enthusiasm high.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. No, they perked right up when I brought out the donuts. So, and I'm glad someone told me to bring vegan donuts for the group. So they were a big hit. Absolutely. Well, we'll keep you posted on that. And it was a lot of fun. Moving on, Initiative 5. This is the joint sponsorship of performances on the Plaza Summer Concert Series 2022. Slight update. We're waiting for a response back from Nolan Maines, who are a terrific community partner when we jointly sponsored that concert series as part of the virtual gallery, which was a big success, I think, for everybody involved. It now looks as though, so with the return of the art fair, 50th in France has been working with this group called Musicant, and Musicant is going to, looks like they're going to plan their own concert series this summer, and it may look a lot different than the way it looked last summer with the student performances that we were really excited to support. So we're waiting for an update, and it may possibly be that at this stage in the game, I'm sorry, at this stage in the game, they don't need our, this may be that 50th in France is kind of going to do what they're going to do, and they may not need the Arts and Culture Commission's. I'm sure they'd love our support, but it's not clear that it will be the same concert series as last summer. And so we're kind of in a holding pattern right now until we hear from Musicant about what their next steps are. But certainly the curator from last summer has been put on hold, and it could be that Musicant's just sort of deciding what they want to do this summer. Maybe it's a concert series, maybe it's not. But in any event, we're sort of on ice at the moment with that initiative. Is there anything else, Perry, that you know about that, or I don't know if you, or Laura?
I spoke with Bill, and Nolan Maines is stepping back, and they're going to become a sponsor instead of running the performances on the Plaza series. Bill explained that really he kind of took it all on last year and now needs to step back and do a little bit more with the business side of things. He's hoping that Judy Johnson and Haley with Musicant will continue to book the performances on the Plaza, and they will also be charged for finding the funds for the series. Katie, the woman who was hired by Pete last year to run the series, they said could be kept on, but they don't know if they've had any communication with her as of the current date.
She actually has been in touch with them, and she said that they're still undecided. So she's waiting to hear back from them at this point, I think.
Okay, and I do have a meeting set up with Haley next week, so I can always fill you in on anything that we learn as well. That's it.
Chair and members of the commission, I just wanted a point of clarification for maybe those that are watching or will watch later, is that that series and the work that's done there is now being put on by the 50th in France Business Association. So just make a point of clarity that it's not a park and recreation initiative or a city initiative. So when you start hearing about the names and who's booking and things like that, I just want to make sure people know that last year the commission was involved as a sponsor. Edina Liquor was involved as a sponsor, but it was not necessarily that. It was really organic and successful by what occurred last year, but it's not necessarily a city-driven, city expenses. Right. It was more done as a support mechanism to grow that and to help with the virtual gallery.
And I have a question to that point. Is the concert series that happened in Centennial Lakes Park, is that a city run? Okay. Could that be a consideration and like for an alternate?
Well, it's currently offered by the city.
Right, but like having the Arts and Culture Commission sponsor that venue instead of, because that is a city controlled venue. Yeah,
we wouldn't necessarily need a sponsorship because we're funding that through our own through the city. So you would need the city to fund the city.
Okay.
If you do want to help, I believe music submissions are still being accepted through the 31st. So if you know of people that want to submit to perform, city's website through Centennial Lakes Park, you can submit through the 31st yet.
Cool.
And it's a paid gig. Looked really good. It's like $150 or something. So pretty good. All right. Thank you. We'll keep you posted on that. Initiative 6. So this is, I think, Russ, we talked a little bit about this, but
Yeah.
the review and comment on art and decor with the Edina Theater.
Yeah, so I need to get the contact information from you, Rebecca, the person you spoke with last week, and reach out and set up an appointment with
Yeah.
the
I was
three
telling
of us.
Russ, yeah, that would be great. We've got a new contact, one of the Mann family members, the Edina Theater, we recently learned will not just be a beautifully renovated movie theater, but will also be a performance venue, a concert venue. So they're opening up, dedicating one of the theaters to live performances. So that's an exciting update and another place where we can see live performances in Edina.
Terrific.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll set up a meeting with them. They've been really busy, just they're obviously under construction and kind of bogged down with that. But this Michael Mann, who's new to Edina, a new Edina resident, family Mann Theater, now taking ownership of the theater. He's here from New York City, where he did a lot in the theater world. And so performances are very important to him, live performances. And he saw that as something that was missing in Edina too. So he's really excited to renovate one of these theaters. And I think it's supposed to be ready in June. So that's coming down the pike. So that's exciting, something to look forward to. So we'll have a chat about that and have more updates next month. So yeah, so I think, at this point, I guess we've covered most everything we need to cover at this stage in the game. We've got now chair and member comments.
Chair Sampson,
Yes.
can I just ask one favor as you look at your work plans? Is that you did have a lot of questions on various things. If there are things that you need of staff, whether that be who to connect to, you're looking at potential of us reserving a room or a facility for you, or the needs that you might need of us. If we could go back to the first one about having like an actionable plan about what you need of us, who you'd like to talk to, we can definitely then work towards accomplishing that, getting you the information you need to then to continue on with your initiatives. And because of the piece of that is a little bit of, this is one of the first times that we've seen internally and through some of our support mechanisms that we're starting to have a get in the queue approach. There is a backlog to get to something. So, we're starting to see that it isn't just easy as we'll meet you there on, it's, Thursday, we'll see you tomorrow. So just keep that in mind as you're planning, as you're needing resources or who to connect to that operations have and are being impacted. They're causing delays, they're causing stack ups. So whatever clarity you can get to us of what you need would be extremely beneficial to help us turn that back around to you.
Okay, and that's just an email to you and Laura if there's a specific question. Okay, terrific. Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Chandler had a
Yes.
Quick question. On the work plan, it says target completion date for each of the initiatives and there's no date. Help me understand.
I think that's something you're going to have to define. Clearly, the one that says you should do something by Earth Day, you're not going to want to put December to finish that one. So it's really kind of helping you decide which are the ones that if you're working on multiple, which ones are first quarter, second quarter, because these aren't necessarily ranked in order of any preference or chronological order. They're 6 initiatives. So as you look at your target completion dates, is when do you want to finish them by? When is your event? And then clearly you're planning backwards from that. So
Okay,
a
thank
good
you.
example would be the Earth Day one.
Yeah, and we
April.
had, a very detailed plan that we submitted before it was converted into this work plan. So we'll just go back and add the dates back in because we do know the dates. So it's not like we need to decide those. I think maybe for initiative 2 or There might be initiative 2 and 3. I think, I might need some help, commissioners, filling in those dates, but otherwise, we can just go right back to our original plan and plop those in. So we'll do that. Thank you. That's a good point. We need to add those in. Okay. And as far as anything else, I think it's great that I saw that the art fair is coming back this summer. Again, that's 50th in France. But nice to see the return to the art fair. And I believe they're looking at submissions now. I did see that there's a charity event, Art for Shelter, that benefits Simpson Housing. They're also looking for artists to submit small artworks that then will get bid on and help with homelessness in Minneapolis. So if anyone's interested or has an art background or anyone interested in submitting, that would be great. The Great Northern Festival is happening throughout the Twin Cities right now. Terrific way to look at some innovative public art that's happening and also raising awareness of climate change. I have a show, Morningside After Dark, that's Monday night, 7:30. We're also a virtual event right now because one of our curators got COVID, and so did 3 performers. So we're virtual, and that's happening as a Facebook Live event and also on YouTube on Monday. And I feel for everybody that is putting on live events right now, it is a real struggle. And, it's real hard to see an event that's usually in person go virtual. It truly is. We all are getting sort of virtual Zoom fatigue and all that. But, show must go on, even if it's online. So here we are. Does anyone else on our commission have anything that they want to bring to the commission while we're together? Laura, I think, did you have something you wanted to share?
I did, and I don't know if this is appropriate since it's not on the work plan, but very close to where I live at 47th in France, there are those metal utility boxes, and they were victims to a lot of graffiti last May. And the city was great in responding right away to covering the graffiti with more paint, but it's still, all these utility boxes are still covered with spray paint. And I know that there are utility boxes on 50th in France that had art wrap done to them. And I'm just wondering if there's any way, if there are other utility boxes in the city as well that received graffiti and things like that last summer. Is it possible to do an art wrap over these? It would certainly help them look a little better and maybe help out an artist as well. So Perry, is that something that would have to be part of a work plan in the future, or I don't know how that would work?
It's a good question. I think you're going to get sick of me not giving you real answers, but the answer is maybe.
Okay.
I'll tell you why it's maybe, because a really easy maybe is there was an initiative that the city-owned utility boxes for city infrastructure have been wrapped. Other entities that have utility boxes in the city most likely are not allowing that to wrapping. So I know for sure Xcel Energy does not allow their boxes to be wrapped. I don't necessarily know if Hennepin County has a policy on that. So we'd have to understand who's the owner and supplier of that utility cabinet. Maybe the city was contacted about the graffiti, found out it was Xcel's, put a ticket in with Xcel to get it painted. Or it could have been a city box as well. The engineering department handles that, so I'll check into that and then I'll follow up. I'd be curious too about, if there are more city boxes that we could put on a plan to wrap. Again, it's about then, a process to select, a process to procure, and a process to install. But the easy answer is it can be done if it's a city-owned utility box. If it's not, then we're stuck at the whims of those other entities that maybe you, as a commission, could make a strong request of them. So that's a maybe answer.
Okay, that's a good place to start. Anyway, we can maybe just think. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, like if you get down to like Utley and Wooddale Park, you'll see a number of them wrapped, and then there's like one over right next to one that's wrapped that's not. And it's like, why did you skip it? And it's like, well, we own that one, we don't own that one. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, terrific. Anyone else have a comment for the commission? Or Russ? Yes. Russ. Oh, is Russ on mute? Okay. Oh, sorry, Russ. I don't know what I think we're fading out here. Okay, Russ, feel free to jump back in again, but Russ, do you want to say something or should we move on? Guess we're going to keep going. Okay, keep going. I think that's it. Anyone else have anything else they want to add right now at this point? Otherwise, we'll move on to 7 staff comments about upcoming meetings and events.
Yeah, maybe Laura wants to think about any updates on programs and classes she's been providing to give you a little spectrum of that, and then when our next registration's occurring. But I just wanted to draw your attention, your upcoming schedule is in your packet. Your February meeting will again be virtual. Same process, same format for joining. Unsure about what will happen after that. Also, your annual joint session with the City Council will occur on the 19th of April. Again, we'll find out what the format is of that. In the past, it's been everybody together. The last couple of years, they've been virtual. So we'll see about that. Again, based on timing of getting on the council work session, I did not have the opportunity to get it into your packet in time, but March 22nd, again, is that work session around Pottery with the council. And just remember, those meetings with council are on Tuesdays, unless they move them to Wednesday. But traditionally, they're Tuesdays. And then I don't want to navigate down because it seems that it has to be political now, but the city is offering a vaccination clinic tomorrow afternoon. It is at Braemar Golf Course. It's between 2 and 7 p.m. They have a limited amount of walk-ins, but you can register online. It's for anyone 12 or older, first shot, second shot, or a booster shot. I know the city has been trying to get that word out successfully to people, but I know you are connected to a lot of members of the community. So if you know of anyone or you feel that it's on the city's website for you to share or to link people to or anything like that. So just want to make sure you are aware of that and that is an opportunity the city's providing. So.
And that's Edina residents and non-residents. Is that correct?
I believe it's open to all.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's good to share.
It's in conjunction with Bloomington Public Health.
Okay.
So just so you know about that. And I'm sure if Laura wanted to mention anything about programming.
Yeah, so we've been having some really good success getting people in at the senior center for our portrait drawing and watercolor classes. Those classes have filled the last couple sessions. We also last night had a paint pour at the art center and people absolutely loved it. We had 8 participants. I think we had 9 registered. February 2nd is when the activities directory should be coming into the homes in Edina. And registration begins at noon on February 16th for our spring and summer courses. So anything that starts mainly in April and beyond. There's going to be a lot of summer camps. We will be hosting our art summer camps this year at Fred Richards Golf Course, or the Fred Richards Clubhouse building. And so watch your mail for those.
That's exciting. That's usually a big day when there's a huge glitch, unfortunately, at the city because so many parents are like set their alarms and they're trying to get their kids registered for the summer, especially.
No glitches this year. We're ready.
Oh, no, you're ready. You're ready.
That's also why we don't do it at 8 a.m.
Yeah. That's excellent. Well, fantastic. That's a great update. Thank you so much, everyone. It's a little past our usual time, 6:14. You've all been very patient on WebEx for this long. So I want to ask for a motion to adjourn the January 27th meeting. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Laura Westland. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Susan Chandler. Supervisor Fulton, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Amlaw. Need to unmute her.
Oh, now you unmuted me. Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm here.
Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Westland.
Hi.
Commissioner Fram.
Aye.
Commissioner Stemler. Commissioner Chandler.
Hi.
Commissioner Rubin. Chair Sorensen.
Aye. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone. We'll see you again in this format on February 24th, and we'll be in touch between now and then about some of our initiatives that we're working so hard on. So thanks again for everyone. Oh, wait, Ria, yes. Do you have your hand up?
No, I
Our
was
student
just
committee.
waving.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you.
All right, good night.
Good night. Thank you, Laura. Great job.